obviously as a consumer, it's easy for me to come scan your QR code and pay in Bitcoin, and that's it. You have taxes, accounting, storage, supply issues. That's what we're going to be talking about today, because you guys are a main node in this operation. Obviously you need the consumers, but you also need the businesses. So thank you guys for being here. We're going to try and keep a quick pace to kind of make up for some time. That way we're not pushing lunch too far back. And we're going to start off with discussing with some of our local business owners how actually integrating Bitcoin into their business has impacted their operations over the past couple of years, and how it's allowed them to not only survive in downturns, even when Bitcoin is crashing, but also expand and grow when Bitcoin's moving up. So we will have Joe of Carbon Marine and Gabe of Blockspaces joining us up here to talk about that. So please give them a hand, and gentlemen. So we're just gonna, we've known each other for a while now. I mean, Gabe's I guess I'll introduce Gabe first. He is the original founder of the Tampa Bay Bitcoin Meetup. This is the longest running active meetup, at least in the country. We say the world. Some Germans are arguing with us about it, but he's been running the Tampa Bay Bitcoin community for the past 14 years. And he runs a company called Blockspaces. Joe is one of our original members at Bitcoin Bay, which Bitcoin Bay founded about 4 years ago off of the local BitDoes meetup. And so Joe runs a fishing supply company called Carbon Marine, and has been juicing his business with Bitcoin. So we'll start. Joe, give us a little bit any more of color you want to add to that, and then kind of tell us how you've been.
Yeah, real quick backstory. Started the company 19 years ago on my kitchen table. We're family only. It's me, my son, my wife, and my daughter. So we started from zero. We make kind of esoteric products for the fly fishing industry and for shallow water fishing. We sell those products throughout the world. So in 2020, I can't claim the fame for this, but I saw this guy named Michael Saylor pop up and start buying Bitcoin for treasury on his company because he didn't know what to do with his cash. We're an incredibly profitable company on about $800,000 in revenue. We run about a 36% net income. So the company spends off quite a bit of cash. So I wanted something to do with the cash other than leave it in the bank. So it took me about 36 seconds to realize just do what strategy's doing. So we started dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. As a backstory, we use a cash flow methodology process called Profit First. If anybody runs a small business, you're not familiar with Mike Mekowitz Profit First, start there, because it'll give you the structure to manage your day-to-day cash flow within the business, which is ultimately the decision of whether you live or die as a small business, because most people run a small business based upon checkbook cash flow. They check the checkbook every morning, and they spend it when it has money, and they don't spend it when they don't have money. But if you go to the Profit First system, it'll give you a structure by which you pull your profits and your taxes out, and then we take that money every week via Strike or River, and we buy Bitcoin. I don't care what the price is. It doesn't matter. So I use my Strike and my River account like a money market account to just suspend my farmed fiat in quasi-Bitcoin terms. So that's kind of the overview of what brought me to Bitcoin. I've got 35 years at Austrian School of Economics. I was a gold guy. I'm a UT graduate, so kudos to the Spartans. But that was the bridge for me, was learning that Bitcoin was the next most successful or prevalent monetary instrument to humanity, and that's how it ended up in my company.
And if you ever need any carbon high quality fishing equipment, he's got good stuff. Ships all over the world. He'll come deliver it to you himself too.
Yes.
And so Gabe, how you've started Blockspaces a while ago, as long as I've known you, and are largely the reason for this community. The company has evolved several times since I've known you.
Yeah.
It's a volatile industry to be in.
Yeah.
You've survived. Tell us about the journey that you've gone on Blockspaces, where that came from and how we've made it to today.
Yeah. So as you said, I founded the Tampa Bay Bitcoin Meetups in 2014, and then that grew so big we tried to open up our own space. Now that these Bitcoin spaces are popping out everywhere, but that's originally what Blockspaces was. We were just like a co-work space for Bitcoiners or crypto enthusiasts at the time. Then we went into consulting and development because we had a lot of businesses at the time coming to us wanting to learn more about this technology, how could it benefit them. So we started doing development projects essentially. So that's when we started getting into the technology side of it. We started doing infrastructure and integrations with enterprise. Fast forward through the FTX debacle a few years ago, a number of these crypto organizations collapsed because of, well, straight up fraud in a lot of cases, but a lot of shenanigans that riddle all of the financial markets. So what we did was kind of pivot to first just focus on Bitcoin. Before that we were supporting like 40 different chains. We were like doing all of this blockchain stuff, and once you see what underpins all of these other networks, it's quite scary because it's basically nothing. And so we kind of saw how the sausage was made and decided to just focus on what's real, which in our experience is Bitcoin. It's the only thing that's ready for any kind of prime time financial products. So right now, that's what we do. We focus on building. We're like a fintech infrastructure company that builds solutions for financial institutions that are Bitcoin native in scope. So we operate on a Bitcoin standard as well. A vast majority of our funds are in Bitcoin. We're a VC-backed company, so we're not quite yet profitable, but we're trying to get there.
So, real quick, a big thing that we hear when we talk about, to any normal person, business owner, is like, it's so volatile. How am I supposed to take this as payment? You both have been around through several cycles at this point. How do you handle the volatility?
You want to go first?
No, go. Okay.
Yeah, so I hear this argument all the time. It's usually from people that don't know what they don't know, so it comes from a place of ignorance. But volatility, in the way humans process volatility, is they automatically assume the negative, that somebody's always going to take your bone away. Nobody's going to give you more bones. The reality of the matter is, if you buy Bitcoin and you hold it for more than 4 years, you will always have more bones. You will always have more than you had when you started. So the way it applies from a day-to-day tackling perspective in my business, I have to pay taxes, unfortunately, or they lock me up. So I sweep my allocations to taxes that I pull out every week using the profit first cash flow methodology. I take that, I park it. I hold it there until I absolutely have to pay the taxes. So the feds will say, oh, you gotta pay 7% if you don't file it on time. Great, take my 7%, because I'm getting a CAGR of 50 plus, letting it sit in Bitcoin. So I let those tax withholdings that I pull out of my operational expenses accrue in Bitcoin, and it doesn't always work this way, but 99% of the time, I have more value in fiat after letting it accrue in Bitcoin on Strike or River, because I don't really want to put that into multi-sig cold storage because I need the liquidity. So I just let it sit there until I absolutely have to pay the tab, pay the government their 7% cost of business, while I yield the extra 40 to 42%. So it's the moral of that explanation is you're not always losing to volatility. Volatility can work to your advantage if the timeline is long enough and you have the intelligence and the education to understand what's happening.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better. I would say that people assume the U.S. dollar isn't volatile, or that stocks aren't volatile, and that couldn't be further from the truth. As we've seen just since COVID, your dollar has lost at least 25% of its purchasing power value. Yeah. So that's just in a handful of years. And so if you're not buying Bitcoin, you're essentially having that wealth stolen from you. So even for us as a startup, being able to retain our value in Bitcoin has just extended our life and our runway, which every penny counts when we're just like trying to start a business going.
You had a question?
Yeah, and I am really, really, really new to this world, but and I don't remember when Bitcoin hit 126,000 4 months ago.
Mhm.
So,
A couple of months ago.
Yeah.
a couple few.
October.
So anyway, in your example, then you would have lost on your accrual program over the last 3-4 months. Or
Not
2-3.
necessarily. It depends
Okay.
on, you have to look at the volume contributed at the higher. So there's a baseline, and that's called your UCB, your Universal Cost Basis.
Okay.
So if you've been dollar cost averaging over an extended period of time, your UCB is naturally going to trend lower.
Yeah,
So
okay.
even though the price went to 126, on that particular holding account for my taxes and my profits for the company, the UCB on that account was actually closer to like 70.
Yeah, okay.
Because of the period, because I've been buying through the whole year, right? Remember, like, we were in the 90s, I think in January, like, we kind of been flat for this year.
Yeah.
And we've had some volatility, ups and downs in the middle, but the moral is, don't be discouraged from parking liquid assets in Bitcoin for a period longer than, say, a week or two. If you're just parking it for a week, you're gonna probably get slaughtered. You're gonna lose money. But if you're parking it for 2 or 3 quarters, and you can, and you can, on a log scale, see, flattens out the volatility, you're gonna be better off. And the other argument I hear all the time is, oh, if you put it in there, you can't get it out. I can move money in and out of River or Strike in a day. In a day.
Day or night,
Yeah,
weekend,
yeah.
holidays.
Saturday, like I've got, my wife and I were in Lugano for the Plan B conference when it crashed in October, and I was getting margin calls, and I was like, oh, okay, move. So it works actually sometimes better than the banking system.
Oh, well, way better.
Yeah, as far as availability.
Yeah, so I guess on that point, who has ever had any amount of funds frozen? Venmo said you can't send this. So the hands are all going up. There is no freezing your funds in Bitcoin. That you cannot, like, if I have your address, you can't stop me from sending money to you. It's a permissionless peer-to-peer electronic cash system. So, we love telling this story. Before our first gala, our next one's February 28th, before our first gala, we had a sponsor check come through for $3,000. We had 18 grand in the bank. The only reason I kept that much dollars in there is because I had to pay it all in the next 2 weeks. Truist froze our entire bank account because they thought that $3,000 was suspicious. Not just that check, the entire account. And so I have final payments for the venue, I have caterers, we have vendors. Like there was a list of things I needed that money for. We had all of our money in Bitcoin other than that, and we had some paper cash. Everybody got paid on time because we had our own money in our own control. And until you feel sorry, you can't send your money, and now your payroll might not get made, or your vendors are going to not send you the thing you need to fulfill the order, and now the customer is going to be pissed and go somewhere else. Like, these are real things that happen to people, and it's a hedge against that in a way. Or if you just have, like you said, the liquid stuff that you put aside that's not crucial to your operations, it builds resiliency for your business and optionality, where you are able to, if you have to, dig into this and tell your employee, like, look, Synovus, Truist, whoever, my bank account, PNC, is not liking what we did recently. If you want to get paid today, open up a Strike account, a River account, and I'll send you Bitcoin, and you can withdraw the dollars yourself. Or you can sell it to any of our people, and we'll give you dollars for it. We like doing it here.
I love educating by telling stories, particularly stories that I've lived through. So really quick story that I think will resonate with everybody. I bank with a local bank. I'm not going to dox who they are.
Somebody speak up as well.
They're very good to me. So I'm in my bank, and the conversation of Bitcoin, they know I'm a Bitcoiner. The conversation of Bitcoin came up, and one of the tellers says, oh, well, it has no intrinsic value. Her name was Susan. So I nodded and smiled because I didn't want to have that conversation right there in the middle of the lobby of the bank. So fast forward, that was a Friday. Fast forward, I'm at home. I'm a NASCAR fan, forgive me. So I'm in my recliner. It's Sunday. I get an email. I need to send $31,000 to a counterparty on a Sunday. I sent $31,000 worth of fiat value in Bitcoin in less than 10 minutes. It cost me 61 cents. I did it from my recliner with my phone in one hand and a cold beer in the other. That's utility.
And so we are going to have a general Q&A session towards the end of the day. We are going to try and keep moving here, just to kind of make sure things keep moving. thank you guys for sharing your stories. You know, I know it's a volatile path, you know, but it's good to see people that are walking down it and surviving and thriving as well. I mean, you're able to, you know, practically retire and work when you want, you know, at this point in your life because of, you know, the sacrifices you made and the choices you made early on. So give a round of applause for these guys.